Welcome back to Room 237 as I continue my series of reviews of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And yes, I know I have this Band-Aid here. Bumped my head at work, put this on it. It looks better, feels better. I'm just bringing attention to it so no one else has to. But anyway, moving forward. Nightmare on Elm Street, we've gone over the first three films, which I can say I am a fan of. I am a fan of the first three. And I do think that 3 is where Elm Street absolutely peaked. And we've gone over that hump, and now we're going on our way down. The horror is pretty much over, essentially, for Nightmare on Elm Street. They started adding very dark, tongue-in-cheek humor in 3. It's still dark, but it's still more tongue-in-cheek and a bit more campy here in 4. And, of course, not as bad as it would eventually get. But this is the first film I can say I'm not really a big fan of. It's not the worst of ones to come. But this is one that I always forget what happens. I mean, when I watch the Never Sleep Again documentary, if there's a clip of this film in there, I always forget the context of the clip. I forget that's even in there. I know for some people, it's their favorite one. I believe Rambo Rat for Life, this is his favorite of the Elm Street films, or one of at least. In fact, his intro music is from this film. And yeah, 1988, it is Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, which is a direct sequel to Part 3, Dream Warriors. Only they pull a straight-up Alien 3 with this, which is one of my major problems with it. It feels incredibly rushed. It feels more like a product than it does an actual sequel, which I'll get to that. Now, it was directed by Rennie Harlan, who he had directed 2 low-budget films before this, one of which is an American horror film called Prison. But he's known for more high-concept, kind of more blockbuster or action-y films. You know, he did Die Hard 2, Cliffhanger, Deep Blue Sea. He did the film The Long Kiss Goodnight. And this does have more of a touch of action and more, you know, big sets, a lot more going on with it than previous films. I might as well just get right into what. It does bring back Kirsten, Joey, and Kincaid from Dream Warriors, which Ken Sagos as Kincaid and Rodney Eastman as Joey. They do return, but instead of Patricia Arquette returning as Kristen, she didn't want to be a horror heroine. She didn't want to come back. They cast actress Tuesday Knight, which some people have said it's because she was, for lack of a better term, in a relationship with the director, Rennie Harlan. But both her and Harlan have said that's not true. Apparently, Harlan got the job because they were so desperate, and they actually started shooting the film without a director, that they gave it to the first person that was willing to do it with their involvement. I mean, they even offered it to Tom McLaughlin of Friday the 13th Part 6. When he asked for full creative control, they said no. So in comes Rennie Harlan, who was essentially homeless, hungry, smelly, showed up every day. They gave it to him because, 1, they needed a director. 2, they felt this guy has the drive. He's not giving up. He's a new director. Let's see what he can do. And they wanted to give him a place to stay, some food to eat, and a shower to clean up with. So that's the start of Rennie Harlan's career. As far as newcomers to the series, which also one other person that came back is Kirsten's mother from Part 3, who Brooke Bundy Yeah, Brooke Bundy as Elaine Parker. She was supposed to be asked back after a character appeared to be killed by Kruger at the conclusion of the previous film. And yeah. And actually, there is an appearance of, and I always forget this, but uh, Linnea Quigley has a brief role in this, kind of as like a nude double, because of course that's what a Linnea Quigley would be. But yeah, this movie really does feel like a product, because we're continuing the story of the Dream Warriors, but the Dream Warriors are killed off almost immediately in the first act. Kristen's gift as this Dream Warrior, she's able to pass it off to her friend Alice, played by Lisa Wilcox, and that introduces us to this whole other group of young kids for Freddy to kill off, which every time she falls asleep, she pulls someone else in. So it's like he's killing her friends in her dreams because she's pulling them in with Kristen's gift. It's not even so much that they really know about Freddy or that they're trying to stay awake, really. And yeah, that's basically it. But also each time Freddy kills one of her friends and he absolves their soul, a little bit of their special power, their Dream Warrior power, is absolved by Alice. So like her brother Rick, who's a kung fu guy, she gets his kung fu skills. Or there's this Brainiac sort of She-Urkel. She kind of gets her brains or how to use her little inventions, stuff like that. And that kind of becomes like the match of who will be the Dream Master, the one that captures the souls or the one that can pull people in and obtain their powers. I will say this one definitely has the most screen time for Freddy, at least up to this point, because I don't remember much of 5 or 6 at all either. But because Harlan believed that at this time, he called Freddy like the James Bond of the series. He's the one people are coming to see. He's the one that people are kind of rooting for. He's more so the hero because he's the star. Give him more screen time. Give him more to do. And this one does have more dream set piece deaths by Freddy than certainly any previous film. I mean, you have Kincaid, Joey, Kristen, and then Kristen's friends, Sheila, her brother, the one friend, I don't even remember her name, the one that gets turned into a bug, 6, and then like the final confrontation. So, like at least 7 dream sequences with Freddy. And they all look different as opposed to the previous films. They are all bigger set pieces. 3 kind of played with the idea that he's not just this dream stalker, but he can really change the world around him. So not only that, but we actually see some dreams in the daytime. We have Freddy in sunlight, which is kind of different. But of course, a lot of times it goes very humorous, very 80s. I mean, there's even a scene where, to be like Tom Cruise, he puts Ray-Bans on the beach. And the dreams are kind of forgettable. It does have one of the more lame ones, which would be the famous Kung Fu dream, which was supposed to be this big budget elevator scene, but they were going over budget. Robert Englund as Freddy, he definitely has a lot to do screen time wise. His one-liners are not as strong as the previous film, but they're better than what future films would have. Now, but the screenplay was by Brian Helgeland and Ken and Jim Wheats. Now, originally, of course, they always approach Wes Craven first, but he had ideas about time travel within dreams. Robert Shea hated that idea. They eventually wanted Wes Craven to come back and direct it, but he didn't really want to direct someone else's material for Freddy. But Helgeland and Wheats wrote the screenplay based on this Dream Master idea conceived by William Kotzwinkle. And yeah, Lisa Wilcox plays Lisa Tuesday Night as Kristen, Ken Sagos as Kincaid, Ronnie Eastman as Joey. But then with like the new people, we got Danny Hassel as Dan, her love interest. Brooke Thies as Debbie Stevens. She's the one that's kind of addicted to working out that gets turned into a bug. Andre or Andres Jones as Alice's brother Rick, which the same year he was in Sorority Babes and the Slime Bowl-orama with, I believe Linnea Quigley was in that. I remember him as a kid. He was in that first iteration of Saved by the Bell where it was Miss Bliss. He was like this bully that couldn't read. And him as Rick in this, he's kind of like store brand Christian Slater in this movie. Like, think Christian Slater from Heathers. He's kind of like the Great Value version in this. And Robert Shea, had the producer of all these films, he has a cameo as a teacher talking about the Dream Master. And yeah. So why is this like Alien 3? Because it's placed a year after Dream Warriors. And we see Kristen, Joey, and Kincaid, everything they've gone through in part 3. They're now strong survivors. They've discovered their dream power. It's a year later. They're back having a regular life. They're in high school. They're back at home with their parents. Joey and Kincaid are ready to move forward. Kristen is pretty much in the same place she was in the last film. She hasn't moved on whatsoever, is afraid of Freddy. She keeps pulling them into her dreams. And I'm guessing the reason why Freddy can come back in this one, other than a dog pissing fire on his junkyard burial site in Kincaid's dream. Yeah, a dog pisses fire. Harlan even told James Cameron that while they were making this. Is Joey does say this one line, like, don't you think that sitting here screaming about him will kind of give him enough strength to come back? I'm guessing that's why. But it really just makes it look like a dog pisses fire. And 3 was not only the perfect sequel to A Nightmare on Elm Street, but it was the perfect wrap-up. You know, part 3, just make it a trilogy, has the perfect ending, the perfect way to defeat Freddy. It added to his mythology, but also killed him off in a very meaningful, strong, smart way. Here, they just bring him back with a dog piss and fire, and his goal is to go after the remaining Dream Warriors, which he's able to do with incredible ease. Kincaid, he's killed in the Junkyard set, which the Junkyard set's the only one to appear more than one Elm Street film. He stabbed. Joey sees a naked woman in his waterbed, but then Freddy pops out of it. How's this for a wet dream? Even as corny as that is, that's probably the funniest line in this movie. And then Kristen, she's drugged by her mother because her mother wants her to get some sleep. And she goes to do like a flip kick to Freddy, but he catches her and throws her in the furnace. She dies. They all die incredibly easily. Just so Kristen can pull Alice into her dream and give her her power. It's a direct sequel to Dream Warriors, but it's really getting Dream Warriors out of the way to set itself up for its own movie. And I don't appreciate that. Especially since Dream Warriors had the best characters. They had the best group of teenagers. All strong characters. Everything they went through in the previous film doesn't amount to dick in this because they're all killed off so quickly. And Lisa Wilcox does okay as Alice, and she does kind of have an arc. I mean, she has to stand up to her alcoholic father. She does go through this arc where, her vanity mirror is covered in pictures of her and her friends. But each time one dies, she takes a photo down to reveal more of herself. Until finally she faces herself as if to face her fears. And she absolves more characteristics or talents of her friends. Which, okay, that's a cool arc and everything. She becomes the Dream Master. But, so her brother Rick was dating Kristen. He's the only other one that knows about Freddy because of Kristen. But, like, his dream, he's the kung fu guy. But since they're trying to save on money, he has this invisible fight with Freddy where it's like he's just punching air and there's sound effects. And then Freddy's glove just flies out and kills him. There's the beach sequence, which is Kristen's death. Which, okay, cool. You see, like, a shark fin, but it's just Freddy's glove. There's, like, fire coming off of it. Hits a sandcastle, explodes, and Freddy comes out. The only real cool dream sequence that I actually liked would be when Alice is in the theater. And the screen is, like, this huge vacuum. And you get this cool shot. Rennie Harlan does know how to get cool shots. I will say this is well directed. It shows her popcorn and her soda being like sucked towards the screen in like slow motion. I like the effect of her flying through the air and then hitting the screen and becoming black and white. It does have cool effects. Some of them are kind of wonky, yes. There's one that even looks a bit CGI, even for 88. And that's when Chucky, wow. Freddy's got the big hole in his chest. This really is Freddy's film. I mean, Harlan just wanted to put as much Freddy as possible. So you got like the kung fu fight. You got the sort of brainiac Urkel named Sheila. She's asthmatic. Freddy goes up to her, is like, "You want to suck face?" And like he locks lips with her, and you can tell he's like sucking the life out of her. That's a cool effect. You see like she quickly like deflates and like she gets all gaunt like a sucked in balloon. Which at first there's this robotic arm that comes out of her desk to grab her because she builds things. Then her friend, Debbie, that's addicted to working out, she has a fear of cockroaches, and she's turned into a cockroach. Like, she's bench pressing, but Freddy pushes down on it, and, like, her arms pop off at the elbow, which you can see the latex. That's one of the wonkier effects. And then, like, bug arms come out of her. She's walking down this hall. She's stuck to the floor. And at one end of the corridor, you see, like, up close of an eye. And it's Freddy looking at a roach motel. Which, when she falls into the sticky stuff, it pulls her head up. Like, the human head stays. It's like the cockroach head rips out of her. They're cool effects, sure. And then he just, like, squishes it. And all the shit comes out. There's the one at the diner where Alice works, where there's the pizza, where the meatballs are, faces of someone. Freddy stabs into her brother's meatball, then eats it. And he uses her to bring people into her dreams for him to kill. So again, it's not like he's infiltrating other people's dreams and they're trying to stay awake. even though Rick is really tired staying up with Alice, but all the other victims, it's like they're not really trying to fight sleeping to avoid Freddy. Just Alice falls asleep and she pulls them in. I do like the idea though of when her and Dan are racing to go to Debbie's house. She runs around the diner and says, "Get in, I'm driving. We have to go to Debbie's." They get there. She says, "We're here." But every time she runs towards the house, it cuts to her running around the diner again, and the scene keeps playing over. Then we cut back to Freddy doing whatever to Debbie, turning into a bug. I like that idea of just the scene being on like a loop. I mean, I've had dreams where that happens. I thought that was interesting. And then it's you get the music from Rainbow Rap for Life's intro, where she's taking all the photos down off her mirror, and I do like Alice's arc where, because Harlan really wanted like a Sarah Connor or like a Lieutenant Ripley badass girl, but Harlan said that he doesn't believe that those badass heroines could be weak and vulnerable. So I do like that he showed her as this very mousy, quiet, weak and vulnerable. Always wears like a dress, carries her books like this. And as the film goes on, she becomes more badass. By her final confrontation, she's in like ripped jeans, studded bracelets and belts, kung fu headband, ponytail, army jacket. So I do like her arc. And the way Freddy is stopped in this one, there's the whole Dream Master idea of evil will see itself. So like she flashes a reflective surface at Freddy. And we do get this cool shot like going inside, deep inside Freddy. And it's like this hellish red tunnel with all these like people kind of reaching out of the sides, like these kids' souls. Which it does show the chest souls from part 3. Only now these arms are reaching out of him and like holding him to the wall. And some of these effects are kind of wonky. Like when it's up close and we see there's like a transparent, kind of like the cover of Chuck Russell's The Blob, how it's like that that stretchy kind of surface, like can't get out. Those up close where it's like full body actors trying to reach through his skin, like that rubbery kind of look, that looks cool. But when it actually shows Robert Englund, it is just like little dolls that look like they're coming out of him. That's kind of wonky. And yeah, they pull Freddy apart, and all the souls that he's captured, spiritually go by Alice. And then her and Dan walk off. It doesn't have a final dream scare like the first two, or even like a nice nod. It's an ending kind of like in part 3, but a bit more sequel bait, where they're at like a wish fountain, and as the water ripples, she sees Freddy's reflection, but then it's gone, and that's the end of the movie. So yeah, if you want to go into this to just see a Freddy movie, you'll definitely get more bang for your buck for this one. He is in it probably the most. There is the most different dream sequences and set pieces and ways Freddy kills people in dreams in this one. But there's not much to the characters really, other than the girl being a brainiac, the girl Debbie, who I even forgot she was in the film because she only shows up a couple times throughout the movie for like a few seconds a piece up until her dream sequence. The way it kills off the Dream Warriors is really sad and pathetic because they do it so easily. It's almost as if to say, okay, get these off the table, set this up, move forward with this, and I don't appreciate that. It really does feel like just one of those cash-in sequels. Feels more like an Elm Street product than it does actually justifying a reason to exist. I mean, is it entertaining? Sure. It is more action-packed, has more going on in it. Sure. It is faster paced, but, to me, it just undoes everything that made the Dream Warriors fun, memorable, and worthy of a sequel. This undoes all that. And maybe that's why I've never really appreciated this movie, and why, for me, it's on one of the worst half of the franchise. I mean, as of now, it's probably, 1, 3, 2, and I dislike 5 and 6 so much that that's the only thing keeping it at number 4. Maybe when I get back to Wes Craven's New Nightmare, it'll push it to 5, but it's not that I hate this movie. Yeah, it's entertaining, and the dreams are kind of cool. It's not as stupidly humorous as later on. It's not that badly made of a film, but just the way it undoes the Dream Warriors and just the way it treats that film, I feel is just not fair, not appreciated. And also, Tuesday Night is not Patricia Arquette. She does not embody that character at all. But yeah, I knew that the one that I probably remembered the least of next to Part 5, I wasn't going to have much to say about it, but still went on for a half hour. So now we've definitely gone through the watchable ones at least. Now we're getting into the ones that I really don't like or really can't stand. So stay tuned for the rants of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Thank you for watching.